Kyle from All Media Reviews, Final Collection, letter P, continuing on. And this video, I believe, is just going to be about one artist. So, yeah. Alright. The almighty, the one and only Pink Floyd. Here's my Pink Floyd vinyl collection. I have a number of records that have multiple copies. So, I have this is a Columbia EMI pressing of their debut album. You know, most people know The Piper at the Gates of Dawn with Syd Barrett, of course. And then I have, which is unique, it's more rare, and my gato is coming in and checking stuff out. A French pressing of that with David Gilmour on the cover, you know. So, you know, but I don't know, this isn't French, this is Italian. I thought it was French. This is Italian. My bad. In EMI, Columbia, again, it has that stamp, but I know this is an import because of the cover art, and you can see that the lineup says Syd Barrett's on there, but, so. Alright, so, I want to make sure I figure out a way to avoid the kitty getting involved. Then I have, what is this? This is something from the early, this is a bootleg of some kind, or an import. It's called, Vinyl at Register. I got this at Half Price Books for 25 bucks. Projected Sounds. I don't know what year that was. I don't know the date on that. It was 2013 maybe. It has a lot of the stuff from Saucerful Secrets, and some of the stuff that didn't make. Like See Emily Plays on there. You can see the track list, but Projected Sounds, anyway. I'm not sure how rare it is, but, anyway. So, I'll confess, I'm still missing, Saucerful Secrets is not an album that, what is my cat doing? You can see, he's looking on the window and trying to find, it's a bug, it's like a wasp or something, and thankfully, I don't think he's going to fall out of the window, he doesn't hit his head too badly. I don't have Saucerful Secrets. I've sort of been divided on that. I like Set Their Souls from the Heart of the Sun, but I kind of forgot about trying to find it. So I have, though, 2 copies of 1970s Adam Hart Mother, their third record. Third or fourth? I guess Ummagumma came before the two. And I don't have Ummagumma. I see it frequently in Ummagumma's record. I only like the live stuff. The experimental stuff is just, I've never been that into it. I suppose as a completist, I probably should have it. But anyway, so I've got... I remember it took me forever to find a reasonable price copy of this. And then I found another copy, literally. I was like, I'll buy that. I remember I bought one of these on Record Store Day out in Hopkins at, I forget the name of the store. But, see, I'm not sure if either of these are first pressings. But there's a distinct difference, though, as you can see. The lettering that actually has the title on this one. Tell the year on this. I mean, this will be, again, more research that when I have the time, when maybe I'm done with this whole countdown, maybe I'm done with the albums of the year, I'll actually... But this is a German import, as it says. I got this at Agartha in St. Paul, Agartha Records. But, yeah, this is a favorite of mine. I've talked about it here and there. The title track, Summer 68 is fantastic. Fat Old Son, and Alan's Psychedelic Breakfast. If is decent, too. I mean... Nick Mason's Saucerful Secrets band has played that a number of times, so they've played parts of the title track too, with not the orchestral, with an actual orchestra. But yeah, I've grown to adore this record, Adam Hart Mother. So it's cool that I've got multiple copies of it, So then I've only got one copy of this. And again, I'm not sure that I got a timeline on this. I think this, yeah. I mean, my Pink Floyd. My apologies, my Pink Floyd collection, I'm trying to put this in chronologically in the perfect order, and I'm not necessarily doing that. It's kind of, I know at a certain point when things came, of course, but I don't have it memorized at certain other points. So, yeah, let me just show this. I know this was later, but okay, so I've got a Zabriskie Point, which is not a full Pink Floyd release, as I came to learn later, but I remember getting stuff on this from bootlegs. But it was soundtrack to this movie. They did 3 soundtracks. This, The Valet, which is Obscured by Clouds, and more. I think this might have been the first one, but the Grateful Dead are on this, and some other bands. A band called Kaleidoscope and Youngbloods, and then Patty Page. And this is just, you know, these aren't really songs. These are just textural pieces, if I'm not mistaken. But it came out, another hippie movie. I want to say it was like 1970. It was around that same time as Adam Hart. In fact, that the guy who did the Adam Hart Mother documentary, Rail in the NYC, I think mentioned something about how some of the music that was used on either Ummagumma or Adam Hart, the title piece, some of that might have been tried to be, like, some of the stuff on here ended up was going to be used for that, or vice versa. Anyway, this is a record store item about 7 or 8 years ago. And, you know, I bought it because it was Pink Floyd. I mean, I have that, and I don't have Saucerful or Ummagumma even. It's kind of sacrilege. But, so I've got these two, and again, the chronology, I should know this better off the top of my head. But I'll just do these. I've got these two pieces. I've got a nice pair, and then, which is, I think, a copy of 2 albums. I think this is where I got, like, I got a Saucerful in here, so that's why maybe bought an individual copy. It's got Saucerful, and then it's got something called Pink Floyd, a self-titled release of some kind, maybe a compilation, and then Relics, Flaming Never available on LP. That's weird. A couple, yeah, I mean, they use their liberties on some of these, so they don't get blocked or whatever on some of this, but yeah, this was one of those double albums. This came out in '73. Okay. And then I also have Relics. I bought this on cassette tape years, when I was in the '90s when I was first starting to get into them. And this is a compilation like that import I was showing just a little bit ago, that whatever it's called, where it takes selections from a lot of their early records. That's kind of the thing, projected sounds. With early Pink Floyd, it was just, it's kind of not a hodgepodge, but the releases from them, like, basically, even from the first record all the way up through Dark Side of the Moon, it's like some of the songs going on. Some of them are definitive on albums, but some of them aren't. And they were on singles, or they did videos that were only released in certain versions in certain countries. But this has Remember a Day, See Emily Play, Paint Box. This is a great track. Arnold Lane, Julia Dream, another favorite of mine. And Nile Song from More, Bide My Time, and Bike, which is from, of course, Piper That Gets It Dawn. But a lot of people had this. I think a lot of people maybe in the U.S. specifically, because this is a Capitol reissue, the one I've got here. But I think it originally came out 71, early 70s. So then I have these two proper releases. I have a copy of More, the soundtrack, which was for the film, and this was, I think it was 71. But again, I got a reissue from 2016 here, Columbia. Nile Song doesn't sound like anything else Pink Floyd ever did. It's almost like them trying to be heavy. It's not metal, but Cymbeline, Green is the Color. Those are like kind of go-tos. Besides, I think there was one other on here, but Cymbeline is great. It's a lot of these are Roger Waters compositions. The first side, if you look at it, on More, but it's kind of a grower. I mean, it gets a film soundtrack, but I mean, there's enough real actual songs that it's more than just textures. So, of course, I've got Metal, a lot of people's favorite. One of their favorites, of course, has Echoes, which is their first kind of, well, not their second epic, I guess you want to say, or even the third if you want to call it the title track to Saucerful Secrets. But their first kind of well-known epic was Echoes. I love A Pillow Wins, and I love Fearless especially. Fearless gets on the radio. It's like a hipster favorite, but this was what? I got a U.S. pressing. I don't know if this was this. I think this came out 70. Well, it was before Obscured by Clouds. I want to say it was 72. But I could be wrong. I think it was 71 or 72. But, Saint-Tropez is okay. Seamus, One of These Days also has been played almost ad nauseum to an extent. It's like the Pre-Dark Side is maybe the most well-known Pre-Dark Side track, actually, in some ways. That or something off of Piper. But I still enjoy it, even the kind of demonic, one of these days I'm going to cut you little pieces, I think that was Nick Mason who did that, but, of course, Purism Revolution, who I'm going to be talking about in a video coming up, their song Bright Ambassadors of Morning is a lyric that's lifted from Echoes, but, of course, the whole Andrew Lloyd Webber Phantom of the Opera thing, and when I first heard Echoes, I immediately, because I knew Phantom of the Opera, we played that when I was in band in high school, but as it turns out in terms of the timelines, I know Death by Unicorn talked about this in his discussion with his friend of his about Pink Floyd's discography in that particular situation. I think actually, Echoes and this metal came out before Andrew Lloyd Webber did the Phantom of the Opera, but I'm not certain of that. I don't know when that opera was first launched. So, all right. So then I have 2 copies. I have like a reissue, and then I don't know if this is a first pressing. I'm not sure the condition is. I bought this as a record shirt, usually from Bill Cabesco, but my beloved one of my album I've championed for the longest time, Obscured by Cloud. This is like the, I don't know. It's not exactly. It's rounded cornered version issue. The remastered, of course. La Vallée, the name of the film. And I know I didn't pay $30 for it because it was on a sale. I got this. I probably paid about half that for it. The late Discland in Bloomington, Minnesota. But yeah, I mean, Childhood's End's maybe the go-to from some people, and it's a great track. It's the first track I enjoyed on this. But there's so many other songs on this album that I've just grown to love, and it's like one of my go-tos. The gold that's in the What's the Deal, those back-to-back Free For is kind of a it's almost like early British invasion song. It sounds like The Who or the Kinks or something, but it's still great. Stay, absolutely Curtains. The thing is, I've seen the film. I don't know how easily it is to find. If it should be like on archive.org or something, but most if not all the music is used in like the first 30 minutes, and that's the weird thing. When I watched the film, I rented it from a place that had it back in the 90s, and I was a little disappointed in that. It's like, I want to hear more of the Pink Floyd, and it's about like this movie, Zabriskie Point, and more, I think, are pretty much like hippie stories, and it's kind of a product of the time. This is 1973. In the late 60s, early 70s, the hippie culture was everywhere, and also at least under independent new filmmakers, and this is a French film, but it's about like there's like a group of like not Aborigines, but tribal group of people, and these like kind of hippies find them, and I don't know. It was 25, 30 years ago I saw it, but it was in the 90s when I rented it. I found it at a video. They had that and they had more. So, all right, so I've got only one standard copy of The Dark Side of the Moon. I don't know what this is an original. This is a first pressing from the U.S. I like The Dark Side of the Moon as a whole, but I've heard the song so many times. I mean, as a one piece, it's great. You could look at it as one song. Time, Us and Them, Great Gig in the Sky. I just have heard it so many times, I don't consider it the masterpiece that so many people do. But it's highly influential, the use of the studio techniques and the samples. And I have to admit, I get emotional sometimes hearing some of it. And it seemed like I saw the Australian Pink Floyd play, and I get worked up a bit, those things about dying and everything like that. But anyway. But I grew up, when I was listening to classic rock radio in high school, I heard those songs, all of them, almost all of them on KQRS, way too many times that like Money especially. I'm just kind of sick of Money, it's, whatever it's in 7/8 or whatever. But so here's my copy of Wish You Were Here. I waited a long time to find a copy of. This is a special edition pressed on colored vinyl. I think I did show this when I bought it, but this is fragile, but you can see it's blue vinyl. I don't know if this is the first pressing from 75, but I enjoy this album, although I think people that look down a little bit on the wall in Dark Side and look at this as they champion this. I don't champion this as much as some of the others, but still like it. I mean, Wish You Were Here, the title track, has been kind of referenced as a token hipster track. And Have a Cigar is decent. Welcome to the Machine is my favorite track on here, and the Shiny New Crazy Diamond Suite is nice. I think I got a little burnt down on it when I'm hearing Transatlantic do it, and I don't know. I still like it, but there's other epics they've done I like more. But anyway, that's my copy of Wish You Were Here. So, this is my, I'm not spoiling too much, but it's been my favorite Pink Floyd record for, really, after I first heard it in the mid to late 90s, like 90s, whatever it was, 94, 95, 96. When I was in high school, it was after high school, I think I finally heard Animals, but this one I also waited forever to find, and now it's easy. I did not get the 2018 remix or 2020 remix. I never heard it, or 2020. I can't remember. It was last year they had the remix, which I should. I mean, it's a masterful composition, and this, unlike The Dark Side of the Moon or even Wish You Were Here to an extent, I'm not burnt out on these pieces. I've seen Soap, the local band, cover it twice, and whenever like Roger would play songs from it, I wanted to see them. I'd catch them on YouTube, but dogs, pigs, 3 different ones, sheep. The whole Looney Tunes sketch with the sheep dog and the sheep dog and the dog I always think of when I think of some of the songs and some of the lyrics. And even though this is about, the, at least it's highly influenced by and based around Animal Farm by, I'm spacing on the author, but that novel that came out where it was like in the 40s, 50s, I can't remember when it was, about society. There's pigs, there's people that are dogs. They represent, I know that, again, Death by Unicorn, he talked about what each one of those represents a different, like a lawyer, a politician, and then basically a working class person who's a sheep who just does what people tell him to do. But it's just musically, it's terrific. The piano arrangements from Richard Wright, some of the guitar textures that Gilmour used. It's one of the 10 best records of the 70s in my mind. And it's prog. It's Pink Floyd doing prog at their most prog to me. Even though it's very dark lyrically, it's just, I get past that and I just appreciate the atmosphere and the music. And it's only like 40 minutes. That's the only criticism, is it's not long enough. But I loved how Shadow Gallery used some of it in their Floydian Memories medley, which every Pink Floyd fan, I think, should be required listening. So I've got this bootleg. This is called Animals in Berlin 1977 on that tour, which they did basically the whole thing. And, it's just, I had to buy it. It's like, well, the complete Animals, why not? Why the Australian Pink Floyd's never done Animals, why Roger Waters hasn't done the complete Animals, I don't know. But anyway, this is a cool bootleg. You can see the artwork. 1977. I'm not sure what day it actually, what the actual date of this recording. Sometime. Oh, they actually referenced 69 in here, but I gotta believe it was probably sometime in the summer or the fall. Oh yeah, okay. No, it was actually before it. Maybe it came out. It says 29/01/77. So maybe this is before Animals was released. I don't remember the release date on Animals. I just suspect Animals came out sometime in the summer or the fall. So I've got a copy of The Wall. I eventually just caved in and bought it. As much as I love a third of it I just don't mind because it's part of the concept, and a third of it's the concepts beating, over the head. I mean, a lot of these songs I've heard, Another Brick in the Wall Part 2 too many times, and just don't do that much for me. Like, my favorites are Mother, Goodbye Blue Sky, In the Flesh, and I really love Hey You, which was not in the movie, of course, but this is a promo, actually. That was kind of the unique thing. I did get a promo, but yeah, that's my copy of The Wall. Nothing amazing. I don't think it's even a first pressing, but I have to look that up again when I get the chance. So I did get the final cut at one point. I did pick up. Here's my copy of the final cut. I'm spotty on this. It sounds like a continuation of The Wall, but it's not nearly as long. It's got The Gunner's Dream, Fletcher Memorial Home. That's again the one I always think of with the Shadow Gallery Floydian Memories medley, the 25-minute medley. But it to me sounds like a Roger Waters solo album. Like, it's like before he went solo. This is the album he did. I mean, The Wall in some ways does too. But yeah, I mean, I don't hate this album, but it definitely is one that I've never been attached to. But again, it's like The Wall. I mean, The Wall Part 2 is maybe selling it a little bit short, considering how much. But if I was given the choice between listening to, I'd actually listen to this first now. Just because The Wall is so long, and there's so many parts of The Wall that like the trial and everything that I don't necessarily have a desire to listen to. So I've got A Momentary Lapse of Reason, the album from '87, obviously after Roger Waters had left the band. Look at my kitty cat, trying to find the bugs. He's a hunter, of course. My go-tos are One Slip, On the Turning Away, and Terminal Frost. I mean, and Sorrow. So, I mean, I like a lot of it. It sounds very 80s, and I know people say this sounds like a David Gilmour soul album. But Learning to Fly has probably been overplayed a little bit too much, but although that was more when in the 90s. It hasn't been played as much recently, but I like Learning to Fly. I don't hate it. I mean, I've worn out on it a little bit, but compared to some of the other songs, not so much. But, yeah, it's very atmospheric. It's kind of, it sounds very technological, some of these other tracks. New Machine Part 1, New Machine Part 2, or A New Machine. The Dogs of War. A lot of people love Dogs of War. Dogs of War doesn't really go that far for me. It's okay, but, so then I have a 12-inch single from Learning to Fly, actually. This came out before. Tony Levin's on this, I believe. Yeah, Guy Pratt played on the tour with them, but he's actually, Tony Levin actually played the studio bass because obviously Roger wasn't there. They didn't have a permanent bassist. But yeah, David Gilmour, momentarily, this is, I don't know the date on this. Sometime it was '87, obviously, when the album came out and the single came out. Well, this 12-inch single actually hit the shelves before the full length. So then I've got it. I finally did, after a long time, I did pick up, this was a remastered copy of, so it's not a first pressing of The Division Bell, which I love The Division Bell. It's got several tracks that are memorable, and, it's kind of, to me, their swan song. I don't have The Endless Rivers. This is my last Pink Floyd record to show, but between Coming Back to Life, Lost for Words, High Hopes, We're in the Inside Out, Rich Wright, a little more involved in this album than he was on Momentary Lapse. I don't mind even Keep Talking, the Stephen Hawking stuff, and I know it's sort of, we had to use Stephen Hawking, the whole voice box and stuff like that, but this to me kind of perfected what they were doing on Momentary Lapse. It's like the songs are stronger to me, and it's just more consistent. It flows better. So that's actually my Pink Floyd collection. Again, I've got a whole boatload of other records to show in the P's, but that's going to be saved for the next video if I can do that later today or maybe tomorrow. But thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and we'll see you next time.